of the other things that we have to do on the Duke here is to replace the rear backing plates for the drums. And that's because when I started cleaning them up, I ended up finding holes right through them. So obviously that's no good. The upside is we were able to get a set off that cutlass that are in nice shape, so we'll clean them up and we can install them on the truck. Now to install them on the truck, that means we have some other work to do. So there's our victim, our General Motors 7.5-inch ring gear 10-bolt rear differential. So as I mentioned, when I started cleaning it up here, I found holes. And as you can see, I'm sure if I pick at it, there's going to be more. So to take these off, you would have to remove the big pivot that would be at the top here normally. Obviously I already removed those earlier, but the next thing we got to do is we got to pull the axles out, because these two bolts have to come out of here, which are going to take some heat, I have a feeling. So I already pulled the diff cover off, which, I mean, it's just the 13 mils around and then pop it off. Now, surprisingly, this truck's actually in really good shape. Not surprisingly, is somebody's been in here and had the axles out of it before. Look at this. That's a friggin' mess, right? So, I'm debating whether or not I might go back over to standard and get the pin out of that cutlass as well to replace this one, because, I mean, look at that disaster. But anyway, so that we'd have to remove that to be able to pull the differential cross shaft out so that we can push the axles in and remove these two C-clips that are in here, right? You can kind of see the one there, and the other one's over on this side. So the cross pin has to come out, and what retains it is this poor, badly butchered nut. Well, bolt, actually. So hopefully we can get that out of here okay. And we'll go ahead and pull the pin out. Okay, so by some miracle, that did come loose. So what we're going to have to do is rotate it over this way, and we'll get it out of here. Okay, so it's out now. What we're going to do is we're going to carefully rotate the carrier so that we can get the pin out of it, the cross pin. And what we're going to do is, I usually just use my finger. I just come down in here and I just give it a push. And we pull our cross pin out. Now when the cross pin is out of here, do not rotate the carrier, because you'll get the two side gears and the two spider gears out of sync. And that's not very much fun at all. So with that, now what we can do is, okay, keep an eye on this end of the axle here. See that now our clip is out. And we'll fish down in there with a magnet and get them back out of there. What I usually do is I'll get both sides out like that, and then I'll take my cross pin and I'll put it back in. That way I don't have to worry about things too much. And we'll put our other pin back in here too, just for now, just in case it does end up rotating or something. We don't have a big problem on our hands. So now we can pull our axle shafts out. Okay, so we can pull our axle shafts out. What I usually do is I'll grab a rag, because I know there's going to be fluid in here, or at least there should be. And we'll pull our axle out. We'll put it somewhere so that we remember that this one is the left side. And we'll go around the other side and do the exact same. Okay, let's take a better look here. So what we have to remove is these two bolts, and they're both a 10 millimeter, that one and that one. Now around this side, you'll see they go all the way through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat the crap out of them, and hopefully they're going to come out. Now it looks like there's a new axle seal on this side. That's probably why they had it apart. This side here, it looks like, yeah, that's fluid, so it was weeping on this side, and they only changed one, despite the fact they would have had to pull the pin out anyway. And you can see that it's rotted pretty bad here, so anyway, that's what we're going to try and do anyway. And I got new seals, because we're already here now. It's another $5. Alright, so on Friday there, I got everything back from Sandblast, which included the ZQ8 cross member and all my leafs, right? And the rear sway bar, and all of the rear sway bar hardware, and the backing plates. And as you can see, I got everything sanded, primed, and then painted. So the grand plan today is to go ahead and assemble the leaf springs. So what I did was, before I took them apart, and I'm hoping the camera will focus enough for you to see it. If we go real close here, hopefully you can see there's an R there, and another R here, and another R here, wherever the hell it is, and another one here. But I marked not only the direction, so as long as they're all facing this direction, that's exactly the way it came apart, but also the side that it came apart as, so that I can go ahead and put them back together exactly the way they came apart. Okay, so that is our springs assembled. When I assemble them, I put a little bit of grease between the leaves and anywhere it's going to contact. And yes, from the factory, they did stagger the way they had the bushings. So this is the rear portion of the spring. This is a left side spring, and they had it so that the bushing faced towards the left for the rear, and the front faced towards the inside of the frame rail, and then it was vice versa on the right side. So they're ready, they can go back in the truck. Alrighty, so I've been kind of picking away at things here. I keep forgetting to set up the camera, so that's my fault. So I slapped a coat of paint on the rear diff, and then I threw it in the truck here. Now what I'm gonna have to do here, so I got all the springs are all bolted down tight and everything. They'll need torqued, but I won't do that until the truck has its own weight on it. So on the axle ends, when I get the backing plates off, you can see all of the bolts broke off. So I got to drill that out, which is why I didn't bother to prime or paint any of this stuff. I also have to hang all the bracketry and everything for the ZQ8 rear sway bar, which is currently hanging right there. So I have to put the mounts in here because they go under where the shock brackets are, and then I'll have to drill the holes for that. So that's its own whole little task. And then I got to get some hardware for the shocks. So I think I'll get working on getting it so I can get the backing plates on, because then I can put the axles back in, put the diff cover back on, all that stuff. Okay, this is one of those things where I got thinking about it after I had already done one side. There's probably not many people out there that have had to drill and tap stuff. I mean, unless you've worked on old crusty crap like this. So the bolts I have for this, I figured I would go metric because the rest of the truck's metric. So they're M6x1. So I've taken my center punch, I've punched in the center of the broken bolt, I've drilled it out up to a 13/64, which is what my tap chart calls for. And what I have here is my, see, hopefully you can read that, M6x1. So what we're going to do is, we're going to go ahead and tap the hole. So what I usually do is, I have a set of these tap sockets which make life so much easier, but I usually get it piloted pretty good here. Once I know that it's started pretty good, come in here with a bit of oil. And now we go ahead and we tap a little bit at a time here. So we're going to go in maybe 1 or 2 turns more here. Okay, now we're going to back it out. And we're going to take and clean the chips off of our tap. Like that. I got a rag here. And we're going to take and just kind of, right? Now we're going to take our tap again. Same thing, I get it, you know, a couple turns. Put a bit of oil. Sounds funny, but after you do a bunch of holes like this, you kind of get a feel for it. So right now I know I'm good. Okay, we're going to take the tap out now. Okay, I'm going to take and blow it out again. Okay, and one thing I do, just because I'm a bit paranoid about this stuff, so what I have here is also a thread chaser, right? So I usually just run the thread chaser through just to make sure there's no little burrs or anything left. And once I know that it goes in and out of there pretty smooth like that, the next thing I do, I grab a bolt, right? And we go ahead and try our bolt. And it fits good. So that's this side fixed. So obviously on the other side, I'm just going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'll drill it out, tap it, and then we can prime and paint the ends of the axle here. And after that's dry, we'll pop new axle seals in. And we can put our backing plates on. It's as simple as that. Okay, my fault. I got carried away and forgot to turn the camera on. I just threw the front tires on loose here. So I get the backing plates on. I put the new axle seals in. And then I just ran a little bead of grease around them. Just to protect them for when I slid the axles in. What else? Oh, put the park brake cables in. And put a clamp up here to hold them, because that's where the factory had a clamp also. I'll show you one of my tricks. So if you got a park brake cable that doesn't fit that tight, I just take an O-ring that fits and slide it over there. Anyway, so that's that. So yeah, I put both sides together here. And slid my axles in. And I did go back to standard, and I got the cross pin bolt out of the cutlass, because like I said, it's in way better shape than this mess here that came out of it. And I'm planning on hanging on to this truck for a while, so just in case I ever have to take it out again. I'd certainly prefer if I can get it out again. So I'm going to go ahead, I'll put the diff cover back on, and we can progress our way forward a little bit more.